Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about the big, beautiful bill, what is happening with the market, specifically also what is going to happen for you as a buyer or a seller in the future, being that we're having this big tax reform coming up, and how that's going to affect the ability of you to sell your house or purchase a home in the future, based on the information that we have so far. Now, the bill is not 100% passed yet, but it's getting pretty close. So, we're going to go over that together today. After that, I'm going to go over everything that is happening in the Las Vegas market, give you a little bit of an update on what I think, how the market is based on my experience, and we'll wrap it up. So, let's get into it. Okay, first off, I want to discuss the fact that I am not here to take any political side. I am just interpreting the data of what's actually a fact here, and I am trying to interpret it with the real estate market and how it's going to affect our ability to buy a house. That's what matters to me in this bill. In order to understand a little bit more of the bill and which part of the process we are, so first of all, what is the big beautiful bill? It's a bill that has been introduced by Trump and the Republican side to extend a lot of things, a lot of tax deductions that we had from 2017 and other things. We'll talk about those all together. But in order for this bill to pass, it has to go through a certain process. Number one is going to be the bill introduction. That already happened, obviously. Then the committee discussion. This is going to be the House of Representatives. They're going to discuss the bill and see if they're going to pass it or not. And they already went through that process. And yesterday we just had an approval of the bill. It passed with a vote of 215 to 214. So literally by one committee, one representative, it passed the House. That means next is going to the Senate for voting. And this one, from what I heard, it is expected to pass. Probably there's a high chance of it passing, maybe 80-90%. And what's going to happen if it doesn't pass is going to be slightly revised, and then eventually it will get the passing. And then President Trump would have to take action and sign the bill into law to make it permanent law. That is the process of passing the tax bill. Now, let's explain why this tax bill is important and why this affects all real estate in general, but specifically the Las Vegas real estate market. So, this mega bill, as I mentioned, it passed already the House of Representatives with a vote of 215 to 214. I think they had two Republicans that were against it because of the high debt that we have and the fact that this is going to expand our deficit and our debt. Two of these Republicans did not approve it, but it still passed the vote because the Republican side has more representatives than the Democratic side. So, with this said, what happened is we have a couple of things that are in this bill that are very important. The first thing is that they're extending the Trump tax cuts from 2017. So this is about $3.8 trillion in tax cuts that were made from the bill that was presented by Trump back in 2017 and it passed. However, those tax cuts had an expiration date and they happen to expire soon. So what this bill is going to do is extend all those tax cuts. These tax cuts include everything when it comes to mostly helping middle class people, but also helping high income earners because of real estate depreciation. And this is a big one. What happens here, it's called a depreciation of real estate. Just like everything, if something depreciates and it's used for a business, what happens is you can depreciate that asset towards your personal income. Because what happens is, I'm going to give you another example. Let's say you buy a car and use it for business. that is a depreciating asset, right? So the cost that it costs you to buy the car is going to depreciate it from the income that you're getting from that business that you're using the car for. Therefore, what happens is Trump passes a bill where you can get 100% depreciation on year one from the car. And this applies also to other things, machinery, for businesses. It applies to real estate. This is huge. A lot of people, if you're real estate, you have to qualify for this, right? For example, I qualify for it. You can get big, big, big tax deductions, especially when you have real estate and you're leveraged on real estate, because let's say you put 20% down to buy an investment property. You can appreciate the whole, not the whole price of the house, but most of the price of, like about 25% of the price of the house up front. So you buy a $400,000 house, you can depreciate $100,000 of that house, or at least the building, is worth $400,000. You can depreciate $100,000 of that house on day one, which means you can save probably about $60,000 or more per property if you do that. So that's on taxes that you would have to pay to the government. It is huge. A lot of people, especially big investors like apartment complex investors, they use the depreciation so they don't have to ever pay income on their taxes. It is totally legal. It happens all the time. If you guys want to know a little bit more about this, you're looking at investing into real estate, reach out to me. It is very complicated. I do it myself for myself so I don't have to pay taxes. A lot of people, a lot of investors that can do it legally, they do it and they don't pay taxes. If you guys are investors or you're looking to invest in real estate, I can explain more into detail to fill you up on this so that you can possibly not pay taxes on your income. Anyway, this bill is going to come in. Okay, it's not 100%, but let's say it's 90% there, right? If this passes with these Trump tax cuts, what happens is this 100% depreciation is going to come into law. Now, anybody that has real estate can depreciate up front, which is going to cause what? All the investors are going to rush into the market to purchase homes because this bill was fading off. It was fading off. It was going from 100% depreciation, went down to 80, 60%. This year on 2025, it was supposed to be 40%, and then it was going to fade off. However, Trump enacted this thing, at least the Republican Party enacted this thing to extend it where it's going to be 100% depreciation. Retroactively too. So since January 20th, which is when the new president came into the office, that's when it's going to start and you're going to have the depreciation. So huge. A lot of investors, I believe, are going to flood the market, which is going to be less inventory for first-time home buyers. What happens with less inventory? Prices go up because there's nothing to sell. And if you want to buy a house, which everybody needs to buy a house at some point in their life, or they need a rent, what happens is it takes away inventory, which brings prices up. It's just the way of the business. Supply and demand. So that's the extension of the Trump tax cuts. Another thing that is happening is no taxes on tips and overtime. I believe this is huge for Las Vegas. I mean, we know Las Vegas, although we've been going away from the tourism economy, where Las Vegas doesn't rely anymore as much as it did, let's say in 2008 or in the early 2000s on tourism, it does still affect big time the Las Vegas Valley because a lot of the jobs are from, waiters, servers, bartenders, any kind of job that includes tips. And a lot of times these companies, they do not declare, or at least the people that are working, from my experience, from what I've seen from friends and everything, they don't declare their tips because what happens is, they have to pay taxes on those tips. So they don't declare it. And what happens is, let's say they made $30,000 from their regular income, and then they made $100,000 in tips. I'm not kidding. That's how it works here in Las Vegas. I have some friends that they make $100,000 easily because they have a strip job as a server, where it's just a restaurant, but they make so much money there, and the tips are 20% of that money. That I mean, they can just get regular base pay of $12 an hour, whatever, $8 an hour, I think is the minimum here, the minimum wage, and they make all their money from their income. Here's the problem though: these people, when they go to apply for a mortgage to purchase a house, cannot purchase a house, and the reason why is because they don't show on their taxes that they're making money. However, now that they don't have to pay taxes on tips, they're going to be incentivized to declare that money. Because at the end of the day, hey, I'm not making money. I'm not paying taxes on this money. So why not declare it? Now that they can declare on their taxes, they can show lenders that they make money, and they're going to be able to qualify for a house, to purchase a house. Imagine your income going from $30,000 a month, where you can't afford a mortgage, to, let's call it, $120,000. Now you can buy a $700,000 house if you want to. So that is going to spur more demand for real estate. A lot more people that are maybe renting right now, that have service jobs, they're going to get out of the market of renting. They're going to get into purchasing homes. And that's going to be huge here in Las Vegas, just because we rely so much on this kind of industry. Now, it's not as bad as it used to be before. Las Vegas is a huge city now. We are growing at a rate that is crazy. Over 50,000 people come in every year from other places, mostly California and main cities, even from Northwest or on the East Coast. And they're all flowing over here to Las Vegas. And those people are getting just regular jobs mostly, or they might get a job on the Strip. But Strip casinos, they offer the most jobs here, and that's going to influence big time. Another thing that is in this bill, and it's huge, is the SALT deduction. So one of the issues during negotiation has been that the state and the local tax deductions, also known as SALT, the deduction is hugely important to a small number of GOP lawmakers, because from the blue states with high taxes, such as California and New York, the 2017 tax cuts capped the SALT deduction at $10,000. Let me explain. The House plan would lift the cap to $40,000 for married couples with incomes up to $500,000. Let me explain. So if you had some kind of city or state deductions that you would get, you can only get deducted up to $10,000. Now this is that's what it was, but now this one is in place where you do have to pay for your state and taxes and all that stuff. Luckily here in Las Vegas, this doesn't affect us much in Las Vegas, but other places like California, New York are going to be, at least the states are going to suffer, because they're not going to make as much money. Let's say someone was making $500,000 and there was a 10% taxes, right? Now that 10% taxes is what, $50,000, and the cap is going to be $40,000. Same thing on all the other regular incomes. So this is going to be a little bit of a problem for the states and the cities, but it doesn't affect us as a city, because we don't have state income taxes. Work requirements for Medicare. This is another big one, and it's not a lot of people. I think there's 88 million people, I believe, or 80 million. I forgot the numbers, that are on Medicaid. Of those, a lot of people are retirees, elderly, they're low income, they already work, but they just have low income, they're disabled Americans. So the vast majority of these people, they make money from that. They're not going to be affected by this because they're already working. But they're going to require that people work at least 80 hours a month if you're able to work, is what it means. So you can't be at home and not work and not look for a job or anything. You have to demonstrate that you're actively looking for a job. And if you do get a job, you have to do at least 80 hours per month in order to qualify for the benefits. This is going to spur a little bit more the economy, because you're going to have more people working that maybe before they were like, oh, I'm just going to stay on the benefits. I'm okay with the benefits, just surviving off of that. Then you have another thing, and this is something that I am completely against, and it doesn't matter which uh, which uh, which side you're on. At the end of the day, I think is a bad thing, which is the lifting of the debt ceiling. We have over 36 trillion right now active of debt that the nation has. Okay, what does that mean? This is what everybody calls money printing. Okay, money printing is when the government issues bonds. Okay, the Treasury issues bonds, and then these bonds are purchased by other places, like other nations, like Japan, China, Europe. They all purchase our bonds, and they give us money. Okay, then with this money, so we're pretty much borrowing money from other countries, right? But it's just debt that we have on ourselves because we are the ones issuing the bonds, and we create them out of nowhere. And this is in a form of debt. Okay, so these places, these nations, let's say Japan, for example, is buying our bonds, right? So we owe money to Japan for this, and they're getting an interest on these bonds. It could be 3%, 4%, depending on what the interest rates are at the time. So now, what does this mean? We have a debt ceiling, however, that the the government pretty much has set into place where we cannot go above. There's some things that we have to worry about when the debt ceiling goes too high and compared to our GDP, which is the gross domestic products and all that stuff. But what you need to worry about when it comes to this is that the more debt we have, the least reliable we are, the less reliable we are as a nation to be uh, the money currency of the world. The dollar is the most popular trading monetary system in the world, and that's hopefully going to stay. Also, because we're one of the strongest nations when it comes to military and all of that. But that is what makes us be, allow us to get all this debt. Let me explain into regular terms. For example, let's say you go to a bank. Let's say you go to Chase and you ask for a credit card, right? That's pretty much essentially what the government does by issuing bonds. We ask for a credit card and we say, hey, I need a credit limit of $10,000 on this credit card. Okay. And Chase says, well, yeah, let me see. What's your credit score? How good are you at paying off debt all the time? How good are you? How many assets do you have? If you want a credit card, can I possess something, that you have? How many assets, which is, do you have a house? Do you have a car or something that I can repossess that has value in it, that has equity? That's what it's all about. And the good thing about the United States is we do have a lot of those assets. Our land is very expensive. We own a lot of land and resources under land, like energy and all of that. And because of that, we also produce a lot. So we make a lot of money. So when you, let's say, going back to that example, when you make money and you go to Chase, you say, hey, I make $200,000 a year. They're like, well, that's a lot of money. Okay, I can give you a credit card for $10,000 because I know you're going to repay. You have enough income to repay it. And that's what causes the interest rate also on that credit card. So that interest rate on a credit card might be a little bit lower because you're making good money and you own a lot of assets, right? Versus if you don't have any, then they're going to have to give you higher interest rates on that debt that you're taking out. Same thing goes with the government. Anyway, to try to summarize it, we have all this debt, $36 trillion, and they want to lift the debt ceiling by $4 trillion, which is about 10% extra. So we're going to go from 36 trillion most likely to about 40 trillion within, which is the debt ceiling, probably pretty soon. And this shows, by lifting the debt ceiling, it gives the Republicans more time to assess what they have to do in order to reduce spending. But it doesn't seem to me that they are going to do anything to reduce spending. And how does this tie into with real estate is a question. And how this affects you, your house that you're going to buy, or the house that you're going to sell in the future. What this is going to do is create inflation. The more debt we have, the more money is printed and pushed into the economy, which means more money there is in an economy, there's more money to buy goods and assets, such as real estate. So if there's $4 trillion extra in the economy, you can pretty much bet yourself prices are probably going to go up by an extra 10%. No. So this is just basic math of economy. Now, there's other factors like velocity of money and how the economy is doing and how people are doing. Do people have jobs or not to purchase these assets and all that stuff that affects the value of homes. But this is one of the main basic factors, which is how much money is in circulation. That's what causes inflation, and inflation brings up asset prices, which are home prices. Okay. So I am totally against this. Now, I am set myself. I have set myself because I've been following this stuff for a long time. When the debt I think was around 26 trillion or so 10 years ago is how long I've been following this. And I set myself up for success if this were to happen. And until I see anything changing here where the debt ceiling stops going up and the debt stops going up, I'm going to keep investing in real estate because that's what's going to make me money and it's going to protect me against people, governments printing trillions of dollars. Because what this does is it doesn't bring up values of homes. The value of the house, the intrinsic value of the house is the same. It's the ability for someone to live in it and how much people are willing to pay for it. What changes is the value of the dollar that is associated with that asset. So if a house is worth, it takes $100,000 to buy it. Now there's way more dollars in circulation. It's going to take $110,000 to buy that same asset, which is an increase in inflation. And in percentage wise, it's 10% increase in home prices. And that is what you have to understand as a buyer. Because when that home prices go up, investors have to purchase assets at a higher price, which means overall it's going to bring up rent prices as well. There's more money in circulation to pay for that rent, so people are going to pay more for rent. And if you are renting nowadays, you're not locked in for 30 years with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, right? Which right now is going to be higher than your rent most likely, unless you have a really bad rental situation. But if that's the case, yeah, you're going to have right now a higher mortgage, but in the long term, especially if you can refinance that mortgage and bring it down that payment, that rent price is going to go up with inflation. It's just a matter of time before it happens. Just the question I don't know how to answer for you is when it's going to happen. Is it going to happen in 1 to 2 years, or is it going to happen in 5 to 6 years? But that's going to happen, and you have to be prepared to insulate yourself against this inflation because this is going to happen no matter what. So to recap, we have a lot of things here that are coming together. Tax deductions, investors coming in because of the depreciation added back in, the SALT deduction stimulating with more money in circulation now that people don't have to pay as much for state income taxes and all that stuff. They have more money to spend. The debt ceiling going up, which means it's going to print more money. It's going to create inflation. Ending brakes for clean energy. This is probably going to affect some sectors like, EV sectors or, like solar panels or EV vehicles and all that stuff where you cannot purchase a car anymore with the 7,500 credit that we have right now. That's going to end, according to them. They're going to beef up border security. I don't think this one matters when it comes to home prices, new immigration fees, like trying to make more money from the immigration coming out, and then the student loan overhaul. This is huge, actually. This is a negative thing for real estate. Here's why. When you have a student loan, you have to pay for the student loan. So let's say it's $300 a month. Now, if you have that student loan and you're not repaying, and trust me, I know a lot of clients that had a student loan in the past 4 years, and they didn't pay anything on it. Like their payments were indefinitely stopped, like paused, not stopped, paused, but they still had that debt and they didn't have to pay interest on it or anything. But this has been reinstated now, or it's going to be reinstated, where everybody has to pay for their student loan debt. Otherwise, they're going to have to pay for it. I mean, taxes, Uncle Sam is going to come after you. So this is going to be huge. It's going to create a lot of people that are now saving that $300, $400, even $800 a month. Now they have to use that to pay off their debt, and that's going to cause less money in circulation to purchase homes. So this is kind of like a negative thing for home prices increasing, which is not necessarily a negative thing. But overall, I don't think it's going to pay too much of a factor into it compared to everything else that is up there. So, with that said, and a lot of people are going to say, well, Jack, I know it was a lot. Sorry about that, guys. I went on. If you guys are still here, watching this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because I do these home, these updates every so often, and I try to be as specific as possible when it comes to this stuff, because this really affects a lot of people. And a lot of people don't get this information from anywhere. So I hope this helps. If it does, let me know down in the comments. It helps. It helps me, gives me a little bit more motivation to do these kind of videos, having that reinforcement from you guys. So anyway, long story short, this is going to increase a lot of people's home prices. And you're saying, well, Jack, you're just saying that because you want people to purchase homes now. Well, I could be saying the same. I do a lot of listings of homes being sold. And I could say, hey, you shouldn't sell because in the future you're going to be able to sell it for more, which is what I do, actually. I tell people that. And like you'll see, I have a couple clients that have come to me before in the future, in the past, and say, Jack, I want to sell this house. I look at their situation, their finances and everything, what they want to buy. Do they want to rent or something? And I tell them, look, you're going to regret this. In the future, I mean, you could rent this out or whatever. No, I'm still going to help you sell it if you want to sell it. But if you want my personal opinion, I don't think you're in a position where you should sell. You should keep this asset as much as possible. But when it comes to a buyer coming in, I'm always suggesting to purchase a house because that's just the way I view the situation. And I personally back this up because I purchase real estate on a regular basis. I just closed on a house a week ago. It's not something that matters to me what interest rates are doing and all of that. If it makes sense, the deal, it makes sense for me, whether I'm going to live in it or as an investment property, you should purchase real estate because this is actually going to make you money in a situation where you have an inflationary environment that the government is creating. And until they change that mentality, and people, and this is, if they do change that mentality, it's going to hurt a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. And I don't want that, okay? But in the long term, you're getting the short-term gain right now for the long-term benefits if you were to reduce the debt. In the short term, however, which is what most politicians are going to do, and they're going to keep printing money, doesn't matter if it's left or right, it doesn't matter. This is going to cause inflation. So that's my take on this. And I'm going to give you guys, I'm not just going to say, hey, this is what I think it is. I'm going to give you an actual opinion of where prices are going to be in a year or two from now. I can't go too far because I don't know, but I would say in 10 years, we'll probably double prices. I would say 8% increase per year. Pretty fair to say. If we get, negative interest rates, we'll probably get there at some point. But in the next 1 to 2 years, if interest rates go down, you'll see prices go up instantly 10 to 20%. Easy. Year over year. You'll have those kind of returns. If interest rates stay the same, I could see a 6% year over year increase in real estate prices, which is still a lot. If interest rates go up, we can see a flattening out of the market. But let me explain. This is right here the chart for Las Vegas. Okay, this is all properties, condos, townhomes, single family homes, luxury homes, anything in there, just mixed together. Okay, this is actually the median. The average is right here. If you look at this, the average sales price, it's a pretty straight line in the last 10 years. I mean, other than this peak right here, and then correction due to interest rates going so low during the pandemic. It looks like a straight line to me right here. Pretty much a straight line up to the right. Home prices going from $200,000 on average, 220 10 years ago, to 550 on average today. Many factors involved into this, such as how much the economy is growing here in Las Vegas, how much the city is growing, and the amount of high-paying jobs that are coming in, especially from what happened from COVID, which is pushing the economy here in Las Vegas and giving high-paying jobs. With high-paying jobs comes real estate prices going up. It's just a matter of fact. That's going to keep happening, I believe. And this is what's happening right here. So huge increases in prices. It's going to keep happening. That's why I can see myself. I mean, we more than doubled in 10 years here. We've 2.3x'd. That's a lot. That's a lot of money going there. And that's regardless of what happened with interest rates here. We're 7% interest rates right now. We're still at $550,000 average sales price here in Las Vegas. That's 563 even, which is crazy. So this is going to happen. You can easily see the median sales price of a house in 8 years from now being at $1 million here in Las Vegas. Just because that's what it is. It's the reality of the situation. If you keep going the way it is going, which means that they're still going to print money the way they did before, and it doesn't look like it's going to change, in 10 years, if you buy 10 homes in 10 years, you're going to have probably all the homes paid off because inflation is going to bring up rents, and then with the extra rent that you're going to make every month, you're going to pay off all the homes. And that's what I tell and I teach some people that are open to listen to it, that they should buy real estate. Just invest and sit on it for the next 10 years and see what happens. Let inflation do its thing because that's what the government is going to do. If you can't change them, you can't change their habits, their spending habits, their inflationary habits. You join them. You take what it is and you say, look, this is what it is. I don't want to be caught behind. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to invest. If you haven't purchased a property yet and you don't own the property that you're renting right now, you're going to be in a dire situation in the future where we're going to a renter's nature and you cannot purchase a house in the future anymore. You're going to be only renting. It's going to be impossible to buy one. And do you want to be in that situation in the future or do you want to protect yourself? Set yourself up for success. Right now, you might not be ready to buy yet, but in 6 months from now, use the next 6 months to pay off some debt, credit card debt, some debt that you have, save up the down payment, 3 to 5%, and buy your first house. If you can't afford the mortgage, rent out some rooms to make up for the mortgage payment. Now you'll have some renters in the house, but you own an asset. When you refinance that mortgage, because interest rates will go down, I don't know when, but they will go down, you'll be in a way better situation. This is if you're living in it. If you're an investor, you're saying, Jack, I have money on the side, but I don't want to buy because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't cash flow. It's okay. We'll try to break even at least. I'll show you some investments where you can save a lot of money on taxes, which is going to make up for the difference in the gains, all that stuff, right? But invest. That way in 10 years, you're going to be in a way better situation. You can probably retire off of real estate. If you buy one home every 2 years for the next 10 years, you're going to be set. So pretty much that's the situation. I wanted to cover that. As far as this is the real estate market here in Las Vegas, you look at the median sales price. Median has gone from $183,000 10 years ago to right now $440,000. That's almost 3x. That's for the median sales price house, which is like about 2,000 square feet, 1,800 to 2,000 square feet house with 3 bedrooms and a loft, 2-story. That's the median sales price, the median house. We have obviously the luxury homes and then we have the condos on the other end, but you meet them in the middle. That's the median sales price of a house. Okay. And then we look at the months of supply. This is a good indicator of how the market is doing. You look at this is the last 10 years on a monthly basis. You look at 10 years ago when, we were recovering from, let's go even farther than that. When we were recovering from the big surge in inventory back 2008, we're recovering, and as long as we're in this range right here between 3, you see this was like 2018, we had 2 months of inventory, which is when it was going crazy. This is COVID, it went down to like 1.2 months of inventory. I've never seen a market like that because I started real estate about 10 years ago. And this was the worst because it was impossible to buy a house. But now we're kind of more in a stable market here in Las Vegas. Inventory is a little bit up there, around 3.9. It fluctuates here. It's going to fluctuate. But prices are staying stable and they're going up at a healthy rate, which is probably like 5 to 6% a year as of right now. Is it going to continue to do this? Who knows? Nobody has a crystal ball. But if I'm looking at the past 10 years and I repeat what's happened in the last 10 years, to the next 10 years, we'll be 100% up on our investment if you purchase a house. So, with that said, I'm going to close this video here. I appreciate you staying until the end. If you did, thank you so much. If you guys are looking to buy a house and you need someone, you appreciate this content I gave you. Hopefully I motivated some of you guys to get out of the rat race and get into purchasing a property. Take the first step towards your financial freedom in the future. Having a home paid off, let's say whenever you want it to be paid off, 15, 20, 30 years away. But setting yourself up for your future, for your kids and everything, this is the time to do it. There's no better time than today. Best time was 10 years ago. Next best time is today. That's how they say, right? I highly believe that. So if you guys are looking for someone to help you throughout this process, someone as an investor, purchased homes before, helped thousands of people get into homes, I would love to be that realtor to help you out and guide you throughout this whole process, get you into the perfect home. All my information is going to be down below. You can call or text me at 702-606-4815. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.